I wasn't on a bus. They made a special van come to my house, pick me up, and deliver me to school. I wasn't by any other kids. They put me by myself. I think they said it was dead for 6 or 7 minutes. Now, in this mental hospital, there's people. They have schizophrenia, bipolar. I had never had this problem before. I had never thought about jumping over counters, robbing places. I never thought about that. I did it. I don't know how they got this angle of literally being like right next to me,
Right.
stuff like that. But eventually, it went more into allegedly going online and ordering these. It's good to see the difference I made, and honestly, I never thought I'd make it this far. I never thought I became hopeless eventually, but it's not like I felt hopeless because, like, once you start telling enough lies, you really start believing yourself. You really start to convince yourself that it is
Yeah.
okay, or you're fine. Like if you
Oh,
tell a lie enough, you really do believe it.
listen, I know that exactly because I've I've run into people that I used to, commit crimes with and talk to them, and you're talking to them. Or I've had these conversations where they're like, "Well, you did this and you did that and you did this," and I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. I mean, I understand, but you knew that. No, I had no idea." It's like, what are you talking about? You wrote the real estate contract. You're the one that, you're the one that went to the title company with me. You're the one that, that put the money in the bank, that deposited. You're the one that increased the sales price. You're the one that did, you start going through it and you can see it in their face where they start to, the look on their face is like, holy shit. Like you knew the whole time this person didn't even exist. You made about $40,000 on that. If you didn't know it was fraud, why did I give you 40 grand? Like, what are you talking about? And you can see it in their face. And it's like, wow, you've been lying so long. You really believe that you weren't involved in the fraud. Like you were actively representing people that did not exist on a fraud scheme and you made hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then you went and you told the FBI I didn't do anything wrong. You blamed everything on me, which I get. But you've been lying to everybody you know this whole time that you weren't involved. And you actually now and you can see it in their face where they're just like, yeah, bro, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. And they just like walk off. They'll like storm off. You can see that realization in their face when they realize, holy shit. And how many times have you met a friend from 20 years ago or 10 years ago and said, hey, remember we were at that party and this happened and that happened? They're like, bro, that wasn't Jimmy. That was Todd. And you're like, no, it was Jimmy. And they're like, no, Todd, it was Todd. Remember? We drove with him and this happened. And then suddenly you're like, holy shit, it was Todd. You would have sworn on a stack of Bibles it was Jimmy. I mean, our minds are very fucking complex, man. Very
Yeah, they
complex.
are.
So
They are.
let's start like at the very, at the beginning, like you were, I know you told me a little bit about it last night. Like your parents are non-traditional. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good, you know what I'm saying? They're not, they're both deaf, right?
Both of them are deaf. Yeah.
So where were you born? Did you have any siblings?
Yeah. So I have, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's not, it's a pretty big city. Um, I'm pretty sure it's in the top 10 most dangerous cities. I don't really think it's all that dangerous, but I mean, well, I grew up in it. With both parents in the household. I have a half brother and a sister. I'm the youngest. My half brother's the oldest. We're all 3 years apart, but I consider him my full brother because his dad really didn't wasn't in the picture, and he was always living with us. So he's really my brother, but legally he's my half brother. So I have a brother and a sister. My sister's 3 years older than me. My my brother is 3 years older than her, and I just turned 22 2 months ago. So I'm just turned 22. So
Wow.
I know
Okay.
I look a lot older. It's kind of bad.
Sorry, I'm not sure what to say. No, you don't.
Yeah, yes, I do.
You could be in your
I
late.
when I grow out my beard, people tell me I'm 35, 40. I'm like, "Sheesh, that's harsh. That is rough." Oh, like, that's bad. But so I grew up in a regular household, went to public schools. My parents are deaf, but to me, like that's normal. It's a disability. My parents never went on to disability. They both worked. My mom is a sign language teacher, so obviously perfect job for her. And my dad was a mechanic for a while, and then he kind of had to stop doing that because you kind of need to listen to the sounds of that. And then he kind of like was jobless for a long time, and we were just living on my mom's income. So we were kind of this was when I was like younger and like 3, 4 years old. So we didn't have that much money then. But then as I got older, maybe like 10, we finally got to move like out of Milwaukee, but just to a suburb outside of it. So I was still close to it, but I wasn't in it. So like my dad started getting other jobs and stuff, and like that then we became like middle class. So like I guess I really grew up kind of poor, but that I don't remember that because I was so young. And then like after like 10 or so we became like middle class, and everything was going good, and went to normal public schools and high schools. So I guess to start my story, guess I should start the first time I ever did anything um was weed. And I did it one time with my aunt when I was 10 years old, right when we had first moved out of Milwaukee. She had had some.
Right.
So I smoked it for one time, and then I didn't do it again. I but I started right away at that age to pick up and buy it, and I started slowly getting into working my way into like because I knew people that were using. So I started to, put one plus one in my head. If I can get it for cheaper and give it to them, I can make a little money. I'm a young kid. I can't even work. I'm lazy. So I'm trying to, find the best way to get money as I can. So that goes on.
Who are you? And
It's
you're
I'm
selling
not
this to what? Like other like kids at school that you go to school with, or friends?
kids at school, and another big thing that helped once I got to a little bit older, like 14, 15. Once I entered high school, the huge thing that helped is I'm a freshman. My sister's a sophomore at the same high school. And so now I know, throughout I'm hanging out with her friends.
You have
So
two
I'm
groups of
getting the
friends, two groups of
right,
people.
right. And my sister kind of hated that I was hanging out with her friends. She really didn't like it. Made her feel some type of way about it. But she was also doing the same thing for a little bit, but on a smaller scale. But she never got caught for it. But so once I enter high school, now I am using. Now I am using, but I'm starting to sell a lot, and it's okay. I'm getting it so cheap. Um, I'm getting it so cheap that at first it was like I was just getting to do it for free, and then once I hit like after like a year of high school, I've start to known everybody. So like I'm the main supplier in that school. And then, obviously friends have friends, and you grow your network that way.
Where are
And
you
at first,
I'm sorry, where are you getting this from?
so since I'm in the suburbs, I'm going back down to Milwaukee where I used to live at first
Right.
to go get it because I could get it for such a cheap price. But eventually, it went more into allegedly going online and ordering these to my to a place. So then I was getting it for such extremely cheap prices, and it was the profit margins were so huge. And so this goes along, and at about 15, I move out of my house. I move out of my house and I go live with a friend.
Why? What's the reason for that? A 15-year-olds do
The
not leave their
reason
house. You know,
the
that's odd.
reason yeah, the reason I left was because my parents are deaf, and yes, they are oblivious, but with that, having all that there, it reeks. It reeks. Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? And his parents were heavy, heavy opioid users and
Right.
stuff like that. So his parents didn't care. So it was like, okay, perfect. I'll move in there and just do it there. Not knowing later that once I ended up moving in there, I'm paying their mortgage, their electricity got shut off. I had to pay that. I'm paying their car notes. I'm feeding their habit.
Right.
But it was okay because I had enough money to do it. It was fine until, after a couple months I move in there. I had always seen his dad, you know, it started off with crack. I had always seen him you hitting the pipe, always. After a couple months, I was like, why is he always hitting that? Like, what is so good about that he is always doing it? Like, there's got to be something to it. So I asked him, can I try it? And he doesn't say no. He says, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I said, well, you're doing it all the time. It's got to be pretty great. And he said, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to, you can. And I was like, yeah, I do. So I try it. Mind blown. It's crazy. So I end up I'm using and selling. So now it's kind of especially feeding their habit. And now since I have so much money to feed my own habit, it's like I really get deep into it. So after I do this for about a year, I'm stacking up money, I'm living there. I'm getting in arguments with my parents through text. I'm not going to school. I'm showing up. I think my report said I showed up 56 days that year to school. Like I'm not. I didn't get any truancy tickets. I'm just not going to school. But I kept good. I would only go on test grades. I kept B's and C's though.
Right.
Never went to school. I only went on test days, took the test, and I'm gone.
Right.
And I made it work that way. So the story kind of really gets screwed is my 16th birthday. I turned 16, regular birthday. I try this is where I try opiates for the first time.
Okay.
Now now that now I tried that. 5 days later, I go to get my own stuff. Now, the first time I had used it, I was under the supervision of my friend's parents.
Right.
So now I'm doing it by myself for the second time. I have no idea what I'm even really doing.
Right.
So it's like so I pick up a certain amount, way more than I should have for really a first time user, and I do all of it. I do all of it, and I go to school that day. I lived 5 minutes from school. I do it immediately. Get in the car to go to school 5 days after my birthday. Go to school, and by the time I'm walking into the school after 6 minutes, I can't even walk. I call my friend. He's carrying me to the bathroom. I'm vomiting on the floor of the high school. People are moving out of the way. Like, he carries me, shoves me in a stall, and he watches me. I tell him exactly what happened because this was a friend that I was living with. So he had an understanding of it a
Right.
little bit. So he goes to the vending machine, buys me a Gatorade. He gets me a Gatorade, and then close puts me in the stall, locks the door. He goes back to class because he was getting truancy tickets. I don't know why I wasn't, but they were giving them to him, but they weren't giving them to me. So he leaves me in there. 20 minutes later, he comes back, checks on me, slides under the stall door to check on me. I'm done. I'm out. I'm pale. I'm purple. I'm blue. Never even got to open the Gatorade. So he gets out. He runs down to the office, and he wasn't a good kid. So the principals hated him as well as me because they knew what I was doing as well. Always going into school smelling, but they didn't know it went to this now. So he goes in the office. He yells, "I need someone to come with me right now." And he runs out. Obviously, principals follow him. They come running down. They come into the bathroom. They see me. We don't have a school resource officer. There was none. So they
Yeah.
have to call 911. So they call 911. And now I when this happening, obviously I'm dead. I'm dead. I think they said it was dead for 6 or 7 minutes of that. So I'm dead in the bathroom. The police come. They immediately he tells them not exactly what happened, but where he tells them a story where they can put together what they need to do to help me. But not the exact story, but obviously he tells them something where they know what they need to do to help me.
Right.
So they do that. They cut open my favorite sweatshirt. Pissed about that because as I was waking up, I'm like, really? Damn, they cut open my favorite sweatshirt. So mad. But as I'm waking up and coming to and seeing all the cops and ambulances coming through, and I just turned 16 5 days ago. As I'm coming to and waking up, I'm like, oh, I am in so much trouble. I already knew. I'm like, this is so bad. This is over with. So they end up taking me to the hospital, obviously. They take me to the hospital to monitor me, get it all out of my system and whatnot. Couple detectives came to talk to me. I told them I don't want to talk to you. There's nothing I have to tell you. There's nothing you can do to help me because it's not like you can charge me with anything. I don't have anything. So there's
Right.
nothing for you to help me with. So I
Right.
tell them to leave me alone. They get out of there. They talk to a couple of my friends. All my friends tell them to screw off. Same thing.
Nobody tells him
So
you have and nobody says he's got a drug problem.
nobody says it. Nobody says it.
Mm,
Nobody tells
okay.
them that. But obviously, they obviously know because of the Narcan was used to bring me back.
Right.
So obviously they know something, but they don't. But I'm sure at that point they probably thought it was worse than what it was because it was really only my second time using. Which I
It
mean, it's
seems
bad
pretty
at that
bad.
age. It's bad at that age, yeah. And I mean, obviously, I already died, so it was pretty bad. I'm kind of a minimizer, as they like to say. I don't think so. I'm in the hospital. That they can't call my parents, so the vet they're
Yeah.
calling my mom's work. Somebody has to go down, go get her, and tell them. And because my parents have no idea what I'm doing, they don't know why I moved out the house. Even they still have no idea that I'm even using. So when they come, they had like a this interpreter on a monitor for my mom so she could so the nurse could explain what had happened.
Right.
But my mom is such a trusting person. Like obviously she knew I what happened, but she is such a trusting person that I told her, it was one time thing. It won't happen again. Like I'm scared for my life. Like you see what happened. Like I won't do it again. She's breaking down in tears. Like it's terrible. So I'm stuck at the hospital for a couple days, and they eventually come back. No, no, no. I'm at the hospital for a couple days. Then they ship me over to um it's called Milwaukee. It got tore down, I've heard. It's called Milwaukee Mental Health Institute.
Right.
So they stick me in there
Why?
and
Why?
and
Why the mental health? Why meant for mental
because
health?
because they feel that I am so I think that they felt that number one that maybe I was intentionally trying to kill myself, or
Okay.
that number two I am just so out of control. I don't really know what's going on. So, but it's almost I'm pretty sure they have to do this. They have to stick you in there, and someone comes and sees me, and I stayed there for a week, and throughout the week my parents there's no phone in there. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Mm.
So they put me in Milwaukee Health Institute. Now I do this for my own safety, whether it's because they think I overdosed on purpose or they think I'm just too out of control
Right.
to, handle myself because I'm not an adult yet. I just turned 16. So my parents come visit me. They're the only people that are allowed to visit me. There's no phone there. Wouldn't have mattered. I can't call them anyway. So they make you stay there. There is no like release date. They make you stay there until the doctor tells you that you are deemed safe to go. Usually it's about a week, but if you're in there putting up a fight and doing dumb stuff, they're going to keep you there however long they want.
Well, what is that place like?
It's literally it's almost like a jail. Everyone has their own room, but you're not locked in your room. It's almost like prison because you're not locked in your room. You can go out of your room at any time except at bedtime. You're supposed to stay in there, but you can leave to get out to go to the nurse or something. They make you go to school because I'm
You're
in the
still a
youth
kid.
building at this time, right? So they're making me go to school during this, and then after it's just TV room. There's just two TV rooms, and they feed you 3 times a day, and everyone's just waiting to see the doctor. The doctor won't even see you till you've been there for a week, and that's usually when most people get released. But they want to so they can watch you for that week. But if you're in there putting up a fight or whatever or doing dumb stuff, they're going to keep you longer.
Okay, so
So
these aren't so are there kids in there that you think is it
the
mostly kind of drugs or is it like kids that have like really severe problems?
I'm the only one in there for drugs. I'm the
Okay.
only one in there. This is kids, and there are people throwing tantrums in there, throwing stuff at the
Staff.
the faculty, the staff, the nurses. There are people fighting each other. It's a bad place. Like I said, it got tore down. They don't take you outside. To me, the staff was fine. I didn't have a problem with them. I didn't talk to them. They didn't talk to me until the day before I get released. This caseworker comes to me and she said, we're going to put what's called a Chapter 51.
Okay.
So a Chapter 51 basically says that I am incapable of being safe for myself or for others. But it was for myself. They put a Chapter 51 on me. So
That doesn't sound like it's good for you.
yeah,
It's not a good
it wasn't good.
That doesn't
So
sound like an
that's
immediate release.
no, it didn't sound like an immediate release. They put a Chapter 51 on me. The first time though, they did let me out after a week, but I had to go see this woman and I have to go see this woman every every week. I have to check in, drug test, therapy. I have to do it all. And I'm doing it. I'm working. I'm doing it. I'm still cheating the system, doing what I can. And then they put me on probation at the same time for it. They put me on juvenile probation and I had a Chapter 51. It was a year of juvenile probation, but a Chapter 51 is only 6 months long. So since that happened at school, I have to go to a board meeting with all the superintendents to see if they want to let me back in their school or not. So I'm waiting. I'm at home now. It's been a week. I get out. I talk to my friends. I go see them. So the meeting comes. We didn't really do anything. I just stayed at home. I didn't do anything for this week. I stayed at home, try to stay out of trouble, and then the meeting comes up. In my mind, I already know the principals, they hate me. So I already knew that I thought it was going to be like I was going to be expelled. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I tried to plead my case. I really want to finish high school, which I did. That wasn't a lie. I want to finish high school. I understand what I did was wrong, and I don't want to get kicked out, expelled from school. I want to get my diploma. I don't want a GED. So what they ended up deciding on is they didn't expel me. They put me in something called an alternative school. And they told me, so my high school would send the credits over that I needed, and I would complete them at this alternative school, and then my old high school would still give me their diploma. But I wasn't allowed back on school property. To this day, I'm still banned from the school property. I'm not allowed on it. They
Right.
they don't want me anywhere near it, and that's fine. So I'm still doing the same stuff because I'm still feeding my habit, going through the motions, feed my habit, and still selling, doing all that. And I'm doing good with my PO because I'm cheating the test. I'm not being honest. Until one day this happened. This was a week before I was about to be off my Chapter 51. I end up getting so high. Well, let me take a step back. For some reason, at this school, they didn't allow me to be. It wasn't a classroom because they weren't actually teaching stuff, but it was almost like an office with a bunch of computers that everyone was doing their schoolwork in. But for me, They made me go into a closet and locked me in there with a computer. And I don't know why. I think they think that I was so, like,
You're dangerous.
so dangerous and, like, trying to, like, give drugs to so many people and all this, and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." It ends up working out because 'cause I'm just in there playing games the whole time. They end up opening, "You good? Yep, bye," whatever. But one day I got too I took way too much. I'm falling asleep. They call my PO. My PO comes, he tries to drug test me. I don't have I don't have the stuff that I need to on me. So I'm like, "I can't pee. I don't have to pee." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna sit here until school's over with." And I'm like, "You can go ahead. If I have to pee, I will." Knowing I had to pee so bad, but I didn't pee for him. He left. I'm sure he said, "Well, I'm gonna have to put this down as a failure." And I said, "Look, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm sorry that I don't have to pee." So I go home, whatever. Now, this is 4 days later, 3 days before my chapter 51 is about to end. So I'm still using, and a couple days later, after the same thing just happened, I use too much again. Um, I end up ODing again on, and now I wasn't on a bus. They made like a special van come to my house, pick me up and deliver me to school, and that same one would pick me up and deliver me home. I wasn't by any other kids. They put me by myself. And same with being in the closet. I wasn't around any other kid. It's not like I couldn't go out and use the bathroom. Like I could be, but they just didn't want me really around other people. It's not like I wasn't like allowed to, but they try to keep as much distance without being rude to a juvenile as you can, I guess.
Right.
So I end up using too much. I get into the van. As soon as I'm throwing up, walking out of my house to get into the van. So I get in the van, close the door. Now it's lights out. That's when it was over for me. My PO was at school already to tell me how good of a job I've been doing. So when I get to school, and I do have some of the stuff on me because I was planning on giving it to a friend at that school who I knew before. I knew him a little bit before I even went to that school, a friend of a friend. But so I had that on me. So I get to the school, the van driver obviously notices I'm gone. Like I'm not getting up, I'm not getting out your van. Like there's no response. I'm pale. He was a former police officer, so
Mhm. He knows.
he knows. So once he gets to the school, I'm sure they were already waiting there for me. My PO was there, but he wasn't there for that reason. He was there to tell me how good I've been doing. And my chapter 51 was just about to end, so I was so mad. So I ruin it. I ruin it. I get caught with some stuff on me, and now I'm back in the hospital, the regular hospital, to make sure that it doesn't happen again. After they bring me back to life, I see my PO. He's mad. Whatever. I didn't care. I knew I screwed up the chapter 51. It was what it was. I was like so close to completing it, so mad because I was like, I don't know what they're going to do about this. So I go to the regular hospital, same spiel. They watch me for a couple days, and then they send me right back to the health institute, the Milwaukee Mental Health Institute. And I'm like, okay, I've been through this once. It'll be a week. It'll be fine. So now at this point, I obviously ruined my chapter 51. So I'm waiting for a week to see the doctor. The doctor says, yeah, I'm fine. I can leave, but I have to wait for my caseworker, not my probation officer. So you can't really get, I don't know if you can get revoked. I'm sure you can get revoked on juvenile probation, but they're going to do that wasn't the juvenile probation was kind of like extra. The chapter 51 was the main thing. He was just kind of like an add on, I guess. But he really didn't have too much power over me. He really didn't do much to me. It was the chapter 51s that fucked everything up. So I get when they doc tells me I can leave, I wait for a couple extra days for them to come back and talk to me about what's going to happen with my chapter 51. So they give me another chapter 51. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But they're like, this time you're not leaving. We're going to transport you to Winnebago Mental Health Institute. And this is 3 hours away from home.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't know what it's even. It's not like I have a choice to say no. I don't want to go. I don't have it's not like I have a say in it. So
Right.
they sh- they ship me out. They ship me out there to Winnebago. I'm 3 hours away from home. It's kind of like the same thing, except this place has a phone and you can order a little bit of canteen. Now this hospital is the where if you're a juvenile and you are deemed incompetent, in the courts, this is where they're going to send you. And
Like
then they have
like you have a mental illness. You're mentally ill and you're incompetent.
yeah, and
Okay.
this is where they send people for, competency evaluations. This is where they send the juveniles, and then they have an adult one too called Mendota, but I was still a juvenile. So this is where they send all those kids. And they had a small drug program, but it was maybe 5 people in it, and the rest of the people that were there for just being crazy. So I get there. They drove me. I get there at like 3 in the morning. It's terrible. They held me. They took me out of the other mental health hospital. Held me in juvie for 2 or 3 days till the van got ready, and after they told me I was getting another chapter 51, and I get shipped out to Winnebago. The 2 days in juvie, the juvie was empty. There was one other person in there. It was a 12-year-old who had got caught breaking into a firearms store and stole 47 firearms, and they gave him like a year. But I mean, he was like 10 or 12. He was all, and the whole other, the complex is empty. There's nobody else in this juvie. I'm like, how can they afford to keep this open? He was the only person in there before I came, and he's the only person in there after I left. I don't know. They keep this open. So as I get sent to Winnebago, I get there like 3 in the morning. Immediately, I'm trying to figure out what's my release date. They said we don't know yet. Whatever. Blah blah blah. So I guess not booked in, but they take my name down, pictures of me, and they put me in my room, give me a bed and stuff like that. But it's like the jail mattresses. It's not
Right.
a real bed. So I'm in there, and I'm I'm so mad that they sent me there I'm so mad that they sent me there that I'm refusing to do anything. I'm in my room. I'm not coming out for anything. I'm telling them, fuck that. I'm gonna sit in here until you guys let me out. And after about a month, because it's supposed to be a 6 month program, but some people complete it in 3 to 4 months. But it's normally a 6 month program, which is the perfect amount of the chapter 51. But I was like, no, I'm not doing no programming. Eventually, after a month, they come up to me and tell me, if you don't, because you have to level up to, get released. There's 6 levels, but you can get released after the 4th level, you know, and you have to like petition to level up and stuff and act good and write why you think you deserve it and participate in group and all this stuff. And I was just like not trying to really do that. So I was like, forget it. I'm gonna lock myself in my room. 1 month after I've been doing this, not doing anything, being in my room, they come and tell me, if you don't participate, you're never gonna get released because you're never gonna get to the certain step. So if you don't get to this step, you're not gonna get released. And I'm like, well, you guys can't hold me here forever. And I'm like, well, if you're not showing an effort to it, they're just going to keep redeeming you unfit, and you're just going to stay here. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
And I was like, oh man. And I'm like, that's not good. And I was like, I already wasted a month not trying to do anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how it is for juveniles, but for adults, they can keep you forever.
Yeah, no, they definitely kept. There were people in there for a year already. They were keeping people for a minute, but most of them weren't in the drug program. That's also a different thing. So I was like, okay, my parents are coming up to visit me. I'm explaining it to them, and I'm like, okay, so now I just have to kiss ass and pretend like I care.
Right.
So, and in my mind, I'm like, this is really a better thing. I didn't waste this month because it actually ends up helping me in the end because of how stubborn I was at the beginning. Any type of going to groups was a major improvement because at
Right.
first I wasn't going. So I'm starting to go through the groups. The process is there, and I'm still going to school at this point too. I have school and group. My alternative school is sending the work over there. They're printing it off for me. I'm still going to school. I'm still having, to go to these drug groups, and nobody in there wanted to be sober. The 5 people that were in the drug groups, nobody wanted to actually be clean, but irrelevant. They had already been there before, so they were catching me up and explaining, this is how you have to do it if you want to get out of here. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, I understood, got it. So now in this mental hospital, there's people cutting themselves, and they really don't. They have doctors there, and for stuff like that, and it's so crazy because I know they kind of do it to adults, but to juveniles, they'll just give you meds that you're just not there. You're just a body at that point. They
What else?
will.
Sorry, who else is there? I mean, you said one that you said cutting themselves, but like who?
So there,
Like, are they kids there with schizophrenia? Are there kids that are they talking themselves? I mean, not that it
yeah,
didn't.
there are kids talking to themselves, and this is a 18 and below pod. There's 2 wings, but like I went there in the winter, but during the summer, during like outdoor rec time, I guess you could call it, we could go out with the other side. But other than that, we really didn't see them. But this was the 18 and under. But yeah, there's people with schizophrenia. There's people that are cutting themselves, and then there's probably, I don't know, maybe a total of 50 people in both wings, and only 5, and there's also a girls side too, and only 5 boys and like 5 girls are in the drug program. Everyone else there is there for they have schizophrenia, bipolar, they have whatever they have. They're, getting into fights. Their little kids are screaming, pouting, fighting, putting up a fight. They're hitting the staff, the guards, all types of stuff. Now I'm in the program. I'm doing all right. It's been a month. Um, I'm still level one, but I'm accepting that if I don't do this program, I am not gonna get out of here. So I've come to that realization. And it was really weird because they have a juvenile and adult side, obviously, but I've seemed like the juveniles, even though I was 16 at the time, they were like 8 to 12, a majority of them was, and it just felt like so weird that at that age that they would just be taken away from their family like that, and for so long periods of time, because 'cause they're not in the drug program, so I don't know, like, how I know that they have, they hear voices and all that, but I don't understand how they justify, they wanna harm themselves, they put them in there, whatever, but at that young of a age, it just seems like kinda crazy. I think I was the second oldest. There was one person who came later that was 17 and ended up turning 18 and then got moved to the adult unit. But, I'm in the program, I'm doing my schooling, I'm doing my program, and I'm going just just pretending like I care, giving them the answers that I know they wanna hear. So, I'm trying to, scheme my way out of this, and it's working because at first I gave them a month of nothing, so any participation is improvement. So
Right.
at that point, it became so, like, so I guess, nice to have my presence in the group that eventually I got to the point where I could just play solitaire by myself, the whole group, because I was still in group and I would participate and they would let me still move up the levels. And at first I didn't have a bunkie. It's not really a bunkie. It's two separate beds in a room, and they have um I like these MP3 players that have pre-downloaded music or whatever. You can use them. They charge them. It's not anything good. It's not touchscreen. It was literally whatever the first I what are they?
iPads
Um
oh yeah, yeah.
no.
Uh,
Oh,
iPods.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A
Yeah,
shuffle, that's what they were called. The
yeah.
shuffle. Yes. So it was helpful though, but I mean it didn't have anything good on there. So eventually along this time I get a bunkie. And I noticed this guy, he's not in the drug program. He's in there for something else, but I always, whenever I come back from school or I would come back from the drug program, I would notice he was always sleeping. And that's not how most of the other people were. There were a lot of people in there cutting themselves still. I don't know how they were doing it, but there would be people with egregious marks just up and down, like you could see, like it was terrible, like hundreds of cuts on them. I'm not really sure how they were doing it, previous scars opening up, whatever. I get a bunkie and I wanted to know how he was able to sleep his time away. That I would always get so mad at people because I couldn't do that. I can't just sleep all day. I would get so mad. No, I found out that he was taking this medication called, I don't know if it's pronounced Haldol or Haldol, but it'll play a part later in the story. He told me that's what kept his voices n- uh, out of his head, and he was able to sleep all day. So I just kept that. I just always remembered that. I asked him for his medication a few times so I could try to, but he was too scared to do it, so he never really gave me it. So I just always remembered it because it was such a weird name of it, and I noticed he was always sleeping. So a couple now I'm in month 2. I'm probably I think I'm level 2, and there was this one kid. He was a he was probably 6'2" and maybe 200 pounds. He wasn't fat, he wasn't skinny, but he was definitely really insane. And because I went in there when it was winter months, and eventually it was the end of winter months. It was like it was get end of winter months, so they're starting to open up the yard, and it's still cold, but it's you still go out there just to get some fresh air. So it's like a small. It's literally a like a kid's playground that you would see at school, and it's just fenced in, but no barbed wire, just maybe a 10-foot tall fence. And he had always talked about jumping over the fence because on the other side of the fence is just a parking lot where the staff parks, or if you get a visit, that's where they park. So I always schemed like I know I could get someone to just pull. He got me thinking that I could definitely climb a fence so fast. If I just had someone waiting there, I could get out so fast too. So it wouldn't be a problem. But I never I thought about it, but I never put like actually real thought into it. It was just scenarios that played through my head, knowing that I could do it. But he kept talking to me about it, and eventually he came to the point where he did try to hop this fence. And so while he gets over the fence, and he just takes off and starts running. So they bring us all back in, they lock us down. Eventually they bring him in on like a stretcher almost, but he is I don't it's almost like what they put it's not the yeah, no, it is a stretcher, but it has like the cuffs on them. So, his hands are locked to the board, and his legs are locked to the board. He can't and they keep, he's being disrespectful, fighting with staff, and they don't do anything like they don't try to really talk you out of it. Their plan is, okay, we're giving him I don't know what the shot was, but it was always just called the shot. We're giving him the shot, and it would they would leave you on the board, give you the shot, check up on you every 30 minutes, and it's supposed to put you to sleep
Right.
or relax you, but put you to sleep is what it did. I never got the shot, but just from what I seen, and they had to give this man like 4 shots to get him to finally go to get some sleep. Now, while I'm in there, after this happens, I end up there was a big case that went on in Wisconsin. It was called the Slenderman stabbings. I don't know if you heard about it. So basically, this girl, and she was in my class, and she told me what she was in there for. I didn't believe it. But after I got out and looked it up, I had heard about it, but I never knew. I got up and looked it up and knew that it was true because I seen her picture, her name, and it all made sense.
Yeah, the Slender Man, right?
Yeah,
Slim Man, or he's like it's like a fictitious
yeah,
animated
yep,
character.
yeah. So her story is there's not really like that much of a backstory to it, but the story of what she did pretty much is her and one of her friends, her and one of her friends at the young age of like 10 are are watching. I think they're going on I want to say it's maybe there was a website, but it was like a Slenderman chat and like videos, and like they started like really believing that like her friend really ended up mainly like convincing her that we were supposed to invite this friend over, take her into the woods, and kill her as a sacrifice to Slenderman. And it's just so crazy. It's so bizarre at such a young age, like how it happened. So that is exactly what happened. She got stabbed 20 times, but she ended up surviving. She crawled out, eventually made it out of the woods, ended up surviving. And what's so crazy, and I get at such a young age, but she ended up getting like 25 years in the mental health institute. She got out after like 10, maybe not even.
Right.
And the other girl got sent to jail, and I don't know why one went to the mental hospital, one went to jail, and I think it if they had to put them in separate ways, it should have been switched. The other person that was in jail that convinced the person to stab her should have been the one in the mental institute, and the one that stabbed her should have been in jail, but it was the
Right.
other way around. But so she's not like she bragged about or anything. She never. I just always was nosy, was wondering why people were in there. There's nothing to talk about. Time goes by, you make conversation. So she told me very vague about it, and I was like, yeah, whatever. She's crazy, but I mean, it she is, but it's really what happened. So now I after this guy, it's probably I'm like 2 months in, or maybe like 2.5 months in. I'm just doing my program. The one guy who was, I told you, 17 and gonna turn 18 towards the end of it, he had a visit. And at this facility, you were allowed to wear your own clothes. They would provide you clothing, but you could have your parents bring you your own clothes. But obviously, it's going through searches. All your clothes are getting searched before they get in, so there's no contraband and stuff like that. But the visits, they don't search the visitors. So this they strip search you after you have a visit, but that's about it. But this one guy that was in the drug program with me, he had got his people to come visit. So he after the visit, he had planned to get some stuff brought in, some like Adderalls and morphine pills, just silly little stuff. And then his parents also, I don't remember, I don't know if it was his parents that actually visited him, but whoever visited him brought him some clothes too. And when they searched the clothes while they were in the visit, just to get it over with, they found drugs in his clothing, and that his family had actually, or whoever brought it had actually forgotten to take it out. Like, you left drugs in my, like, it's red flag, especially when you know that, like, I'm trying to bring him in, like, they're gonna search that. So he gets pulled out of his visit, and he gets strip searched. And as he's getting strip searched, he told me, he turned and he's doing the strip search, he squatting call. And as he does that, he had two packages up there apparently, and one of them fell out as they were doing the strip search. But there's not like it's not like they can. He's all they basically do is gonna restart your program. They're just gonna, they're not gonna charge you unless it's a major amount of drugs or something. But a couple of pills, they're not gonna charge you. They're not gonna put you to jail. They're just gonna
Right.
restart your program because clearly you have a problem.
Right.
So that ends up happening, but only one of the packages fell out. So one of them got in.
Okay.
So he ends up after the strips there, he ends up getting his package out or whatever, and
Right.
he's dispersing it, and he's dispersing it. And I was the only one of the only ones who didn't take something. He's dispersing it because I when I'm locked up or away or gone, when I'm not in the middle of my addiction or when I come home and have freedom, I'm not actively trying to use. When I'm in jail, I'm not actively trying to use. Even if I come across it, I know it sounds crazy, but like I wouldn't if I was on the streets, I would have said yes, but if I was in jail, I'd say no, even though I had the money to afford it.
Right.
It's very, very bizarre. But so he gets the package in and he disperses it. It's a couple of them. It's not much. People are high for a couple of days, maybe. And then they decide, one after that happened, a couple of days later, they decide to drug test everybody to see people talk, whatever. I don't know what happened, or they just decided to do it because of the visit that happened. See if he maybe took drugs during the visit, swallowed them a couple to see if what actually went on. So they drug test the whole unit, and everyone that was in the drug program, which isn't that many people. Like I said, it was like 5 boys and 5 girls, not that much. So they everyone takes a piss test. The girls didn't, only the guys did. But everybody that was in the drug program failed. Everyone else didn't fail. But I was the only person that didn't. And that's what really got me to getting into my last step of getting out, because I was the only one who didn't get high. That I it was it's normally a 4 to 6 month program, and I completed it in 3 months, but really only 2 months because the first month I didn't do anything. I rebelled. So that really like kind of ex- cut a lot of time off, I guess. It really made them believe in me that I was actually changed. So that cut a lot of time off. And the girls were doing the same thing with visits. They were getting rollers brought in and stuff, and I don't think I ever got caught up with that. I'm pretty sure nobody did. They never got caught up with that. So, but it was happening. So, whatever. Now I'm getting closer to 3 months. I finally level up. I've been there about 3 months. There's 6 levels, but you can go home once you reach level 4. You can they might say no, but more 95% of the time at level 4 they're going to let you go home. So it's around the 3 month mark. I finally get to level 4, and they make you do so much stuff that they don't tell you beforehand to try to set up to make your stay just a little bit longer. Like, in order to leave, you have to have outpatient already set up, and you have to have not just set up, but it needs to be within like 72 hours within your release date. You need to have an appointment already set up. And my PO came up there once and visited me. It wasn't a I don't even know why he came up there. I think he just wanted to come up there. It's not like we talked about any. We talked about, yeah, I was getting out soon, and that was about it. And he was like, you still got 3 months left of your Chapter 51, and like I said, I had a PO and a caseworker for the Chapter 51s. They were separate, but they did work together to try to help me. But so I I am almost going home. It's like two. I'm level 4, and we're going to Chow one day, and I bring my what I would do to pass most of my time with solitaire and Sudoku books,
Right.
and I brought a Sudoku book down to the lunchroom, and this lady was being so mean to me about it. She considered it contraband, and a couple days before I was gonna go home, it immediately extended my stay 2 weeks. I was literally, like, 2 days from the door. I was so heartbroken. I spent the rest of those 2 weeks in my room. I was actually crying. I was so upset that it was so bogus. I ended up arguing with them. It ends up being more like they want me to keep me in there for 2 more weeks, but since I'm getting out, they need to have a conference call. They need to have a conference call with my PO, my caseworker on the streets for the Chapter 51, and I guess my counselor in there, and my teachers, like, everyone needed to be on this conference call. So, they set up the conference call. My parents, obviously, since they're deaf, they came up there, and I didn't know that this was gonna play a major role in this, but they come up there for the phone call, and I'm interpreting it for them and stuff, and they want me to stay 2 weeks for it, and but the counselors and all, they were like, "He's doing good, we think he's ready to go home, it's just he had this mistake," and brought contraband down to the, lunchroom or chow room, and it was they were making half people were making a big deal about it and the other half weren't, but the important people weren't making a big deal about it. So they were like, "Okay, we're gonna set your release date for one one more week in advance." So well, my parents are like, "Well, we already have the outpatient appointment in two more days, and we're already here. We can't come get him later." And I kinda told my parents to say that because they don't know sign language,
Right.
so they don't know that I'm telling my parents this. So I'm telling my parents this, and they bring up that argument, we're already here, like, he's already at the level he needs to be, this is silly, he's ready to come home, he's
Right.
been he did the program like you guys asked, he still has outpatient, he's got everything set up. So they end up taking it, they end up accepting it and being like, "Okay, you can go. You can go." So I was so happy. I had to go get all my stuff ready. I had to. It's not like I didn't have canteen, but I never got clothes brought up there, but I had a pair of shoes brought up there, so I wasn't always wearing slippers because all they would give you is those jail slippers.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to wear those for 6 months if I was going to be there that long.
Right.
I didn't want to wear them. So they end up accepting it, and they let me out. I My PO, he was on the phone call, meets me at my house as I'm pulling in, and I'm already on the way home. Since I live so far, I'm already planning to go get some stuff. I already have been planning it along, but now that I'm on the way home, I'm already texting the right people. I'm
Right.
already making it a plan. When my PO's at my house, and so I know that he's there now. Okay, I dropped for him. He obviously clean, and so I knew, okay, boom. As soon as he left, I'm out the door. I left, went to go get some stuff. Now, when I went, I got some stuff, came home to use it, and when I when I was doing it, it wasn't the same as it was before. So it like it didn't give me the same feeling. It almost made me feel like I was dying, like I was having a heart attack almost. So now this is the same day. I got released probably around 2, 3 plus a 3-hour ride home. I think I got released at noon and I got home at maybe 3 or 4 is probably what happened. And so I come back home, I'm like, I don't even wanna do this. It literally feels like I'm dying. So even though I didn't get like that much stuff, I was like, I just want to get rid of it. So my friend says, yeah, I know someone to get rid of it too. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he comes, I sneak out of my parents' house because I mean, they're not going to hear me open the door, and I just
Right.
walk out. It's not really sneaking out. It's just walking out the door. So I do that. And I don't tell my parents I'm leaving. And this guy picks me up with his friend in a stolen vehicle and did not tell me.
Right.
And I didn't find out till after 5 minutes. We left the house and eventually we get pulled over. And I know I got this stuff on me. And I'm like, is everything good? You know, you got your papers and all that. He's like, yeah, yeah, I'm good. No, he was not good. So the sheriffs obviously, they pull us over. They don't even come to the door. They get a couple more cars to pull up, and then they all get out and get out, step out the vehicle, with their guns and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, dude, I just got out. I was like, no, that like 8 hours later, and now I'm actually going to jail. I'm like, I literally just got out of this program. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I obviously had that stuff in my back. I had it in my backpack, but it was near me. I got charged with it, juvenile charge, but it didn't. It didn't reset my chapter 51. Because what had happened, I got first after I exited the vehicle. One thing is my phone fell out of my pocket. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to try to pick that up. When I went to go pick it up, oh my gosh, they all yelled at me, thought I was going to pick up a gun or something because I was getting pulled off the stolen vehicle.
Right.
So it was like really insane. But I had this stuff in a gum wrapper. The stuff and I get booked in, they go through all my stuff, they don't find it. So I get put in the cell. I'm in the adult jail, but I'm only, still 16. So they put me in a different uniform and they have to keep me in booking in a single cell by myself. I'm never allowed out because I can't be around adults, obviously. So I can't be around adults. So I'm stuck in there. They have like a phone that I can bring to your door so you can like get it through the food port and make a call, obviously, but I can't. I have to call a friend and be like, hey, you want to text my mom that I'm in here and come visit me? And of course, they do it. Of course, she's furious, but when she gets down there, my PO tried to tell her, no, you can't visit him. And she starts making a whole scene. She's like, how do you expect me to keep in contact with my child? I can't call him on the phone. He can't call me. You have no right to not let me see my child and all this. So he has to end up getting his supervisor down there, and his supervisor goes on my mom's side. My supervisor goes on my mom's side and lets my mom see me. So they bring me out to this small, because they don't really have visitation and booking. You know what I mean? There's no visitation and booking.
Right.
But there's a small room that has it's like an ancient TV, not like the kiosk that they have. It was like a bubble TV that had a camera on it that I was able to see my parents and I got a visit. And my my PO wanted to send me to a halfway house at that time. My parents talk to me about it, and I'm like, no, don't listen to that. No halfway house, because they're my legal guardians. If they don't say yes, they can't real. They have to file the right procedures to I guess take away guardianship. So even though even though I'm on juvenile probation, I didn't really. There's the juvenile PO is still not my guardian. He can't just do whatever he wants
Right.
as like an adult PO kind of can. So this he wants to send me to a halfway house. I convinced my parents it's not a good idea. They It's a terrible idea, and they believe it. They accept it. They believe it. They're like, okay, we'll talk to him. We'll see what we can do. And so this was the first day. This was within the first couple of days. I only stayed in there for a week, but on like the fifth day after I had been in my cell, they came to me and said, "Did when you got arrested, did you have this on you?" And I said, "Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't have that on me. They would have found it when they searched everything when they booked it in." And they were like, "Yeah, no, I get that, but we went through your stuff, and now this is in there." And I'm like, "Well, that's
That's
not
weird.
on me."
That's strange.
Um, yeah, that's
Right?
very weird.
Do you think
You've
maybe it was
already went.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
think maybe the police planted it?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm telling them. Like, I that's so crazy because they already searched my stuff. So insane. How did that get in there? There's the, so they still end up charging me with it, but they didn't end up charging me with bringing contraband into a institution. They just charged me with possession, and it didn't it since it wasn't they really didn't have a real case because it had been so long since I had like they found it 5 days later and not on me, and they had already searched my stuff. Like it would have been very difficult for them to 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 I guess prove that now because they had already looked through my stuff and it had already been
Right.
put away.
So
I don't know what made them go through it again, but
so but you said they charge you with it.
they do charge me with it. Yeah,
Do they
they do
drop
charge
it?
me. They end up no, so they end up I keep fighting the cases, so they keep giving me DPAs. So so they don't while this is going on, I don't get revoked. They want to send me to a halfway house. A halfway house is a really long time. So I told them that I would go to a rehab, inpatient rehab, because it's only 30 days. I get out, I'm done, and it'll get them off my back. And since I already just did like a drug program, they'll take what they can get. Maybe it's just a minor slip up, even this exact same day I got out, but they whatever. So they I had got I had got to the seventh day after I was there for a week. They had made the plan that they were going to send me to a rehab in Chicago, Illinois,
Okay.
2 hours from my house. And I had been okay with it. I've accepted it. So there's no bus that takes me. The sheriffs personally have to drive me to the 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 rehab, even though I don't know how they're allowed to do it because the sheriffs, that's out of their jurisdiction. They weren't federal, and I know that because one of the sheriffs that drove me was one of my classmates' dads, so he knew who I was. So it wasn't really a secret.
So they
Um,
transport you.
Yeah, they transport me
Okay.
all the way. They transport me out of Wisconsin to Illinois down to. I don't think it's actually in Chicago, but it's near Chicago anyway. So I do this. I'm doing this 30-day drug inpatient rehab. I live there, I sleep there, but since it's a private rehab, like it's amenities, it goes through your insurance. It's nice. It's nice. Like it's actually a nice place to be. The only thing that sucked is there's literally groups all day long. Like you don't have free time. That's the only thing that sucked. But so while I'm in there, my parents come up and visit me. And I had talked to this one guy in there, and I was like, "What? What are you in here?" I'm talking to everybody, finding out their stories. They're figuring out what people are in there for, and just hearing people's stories. See who I'm around. And this one guy told me, he was like, "Oh yeah, I use DXM." And I'm like, "Well, what is that?" And basically, cold medicine. Like if you see anything that has, like, if you buy Mucinex or whatever and it says DM, it's because it has DXM in it. It's a hallucinogenic.
Right.
And I had never done this, but I convinced my parents while they're visiting me. I convinced one of them to leave and go to the store, allegedly, and buy this and bring it back and give it to me because the nurse wouldn't give me the right meds and I'm really sick. I have a really bad cold and I need a whole box of this, right? So they leave. One of my parents leaves, gets it, and brings it back along with a vape. They brought me in a vape and stuff, a charger. They hooked me up.
And they let you have this. The drug people let you.
No, they had no idea. No, they had no idea. They had no clue.
I mean, don't they see your parents bring it in, and don't they search you?
No, they do. They go through. They don't search you really. They'll go through your stuff every once in a while, but they don't search your visitors. So my dad had left saying, "Oh, I'm just going to the store real quick," and came back, and they're not going to search him. And they you visit in your unit. All the parents come. They have like couches in there and stuff. And my parents, on the slide, just slip me the box and a vape. I just put it in my pocket, and it is what it is. And so I end up taking like 10 of these things because that's what I was told to do by this guy. And now we end up having, they had like basketball. They had like their rec time was like basketball. So after visits were over, I was starting to feel this now. I'm starting to feel it. And I'm I'm not freaking out, but it's it's very uncomfortable because I know that nobody else knows besides the 2 people I told or whatever,
Right.
but the feeling of it was not a good feeling. I couldn't imagine why someone would be addicted to this. There is no good feeling at all. There is none of that. And this guy, I mean, he was so out there. Like he told me one time he had overdosed on this stuff because he took like 50 pills, and he told me that he had saw aliens at the hospital, and they were purple and all types of stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna take that much, but I'll dabble with it, see what it does. Not a good feeling. It's uncomfortable. You feel queasy, like you're gonna throw up, and they put something in the medicine so people do feel that way, so they don't abuse it.
Right.
So I'm feeling queasy, but I don't throw up. I am just walking laps around the gym. All right. So I'm walking laps around the gym, and I'm walking around their basketball game. And that's not normal for me. Normally I would participate, but they can't really they don't know what's normal and what's not normal. I mean, I'm just doing something else for a day because somebody was walking with me, the one person. I was telling him, man, I don't feel good. My whole body is itching. I'm thinking I'm allergic to it. Like, I can't, my whole body's itching. It's terrible. And it lasts for so long. It was just the worst thing I had ever experienced. It was so bad. It was the worst thing I'd ever experienced, and he had gotten me to believe that that's normal. It's a first time thing. When you do it again a second time and a third time, you won't have those initial feelings. But I never ended up doing it again at that place. I gave because a box of it has a lot, so I split the load up between me and him. I gave him most of it though. But um I end up I do this program and it's not really, I mean, it's a decent program. It's just more like I just feel like they don't really care because regardless, after 30 days, you're out the door. You don't have to make any progress. Like, you don't really
Right.
have to do anything. I was already doing it just to because they can let you out like 3 days early. And I was like, if I can get 3 days off my sentence, I'll participate, whatever. Because it was like, otherwise, if I wasn't participating, I had to be in my room all day. And they didn't have the iPod shuffle. They didn't have the iPod shuffle, so I couldn't. I had nothing to do in my room all day. So it was like whatever.
You get
So it's
you get through the program, right? I mean, you get through
yeah.
that program and they let you out, or
Yeah, I get through the program, they let me out. So now I am getting close. I'm I'm getting close. I'm still going through the court system for those charges and stuff. And those things keep getting what's called DPA. You know, if you know what that is,
no, I don't.
it's a deferred prosecution agreement.
Okay,
So it's kind of it's like, hey, if you do this, like, if you go to this treatment, then, we agree to drop the charges. Or if you do, whatever stay clean for this long, we'll drop the charges, whatever they had wanted me to do, if they wanted me to go to drug court or whatever. But that's not what they had me do. So I I finished the program. I'm still going through the court system. I'm still on my chapter 51. And now I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. I'm now at this point I had found such such a way to um I just found ways to try to cheat the system because I found out at this time if I was going my PO really wasn't dropping me and I was almost finished with probation at this time because it's almost been a year and I only had a year on there. So I'm going to my I'm going to my I had to go to therapy after I got out. I'm going to see her. I almost want to say it started off as like 3 times a week and I progressively got down to like once a month, but it took forever because I was so stubborn and trying to tell them I don't have a problem. You guys
right,
are a problem. Yes, I see what it looks like, but I've only used it a few times and I've just been unlucky. I don't have a problem.
right,
So, and I'm starting to believe myself a little bit. Maybe I'm starting because I have the system full, so now I kind of have myself full. But they watch so, and I'm still keep in mind. I'm this goes on for a long time, and till I'm about till about 17. Uh, goes on for a little bit. I'm doing good. I'm going through the course. And at 17, I was still, while I was going through these programs, I had always had someone take care of my my operation. right? So there was still money coming in. I had someone take care of it. When I came home, I would take back over and fix it all up, even though there were never really real problems with my operation. But I ended up taking it back over. And so now, um, right as I am turning, I'm still going through the court system. And what had happened was I'm doing good. I have been out for like a year of anything. So this is a year span that I've just been doing good and haven't caught any new charges, haven't been failing my drug test, been going to therapy, been doing everything they've asked of me. I, I've been doing everything that has been asked of me. And I'm taking care of the operation. And so COVID ends up hitting. COVID hasn't hit yet. So I'm still doing my thing. And a year goes by, and as soon as I turn 18, within a couple months, I get my door, I get my house raided.
Why? Like, was
So
someone
from
like so somebody set you
yeah.
up? Yeah, okay.
So what had happened when I read the discovery is I know what actually happened, but this guy had bought a THC cartridge, not from me, not from me. He had gotten something else from me,
Okay.
left my house, and they kind of got onto me because neighbors, I was getting lazy and, you know, serving out of my house as you should never do.
Right.
So I'm making it easy for them. I'm not even leaving. They can really surveil me. And my neighbors are calling because I lived in a cul-de-sac. So it's always full of cars like a drive-through. And my
Right.
neighbors are pissed. You know, they don't understandable. It's whatever. So understandable. So they pull this guy over as he gets a couple blocks away from my house, so I don't see it or whatever. And since he didn't want to pay the ticket for a THC cartridge, he was like, "Oh, I will definitely tell you where I got it from," which is not from me, but he said it was from me. So he cooperates with them, where it does some buys on me, you know, and does some buys on me, and you know they got the evidence they needed, you know, and it's now 2024, so this was what, like 5 years ago. Like, technology is good, like
Right.
there are cameras everywhere.
Right.
And even even like my backyard, the way my house was set up is I had like it was the shape of a football field of a 1 square acre, and then it had like it was a rectangle, like perfect, and it had tree lines, side street, and then a shopping mall. It was like Walgreens, Planet Fitness, like all this stuff. So even there was cameras that could see my house, even if I like was like there was like even like other people who didn't have like Ring cameras weren't that big at that time. My house was always being could have always been surveilled, and I didn't really think about it. I was like, "Oh, I have the tree line." I'm like, "They don't have cameras in the back. No one would ever. They have to subpoena those and really pull them." And I don't know how they got some of these pictures because they are like, I mean, they are like. I can show you some of the pictures. I have them, but it's like there's pictures of like they're literally like standing right next to me. I'm like, "How did you get that angle? I would have. You were not right there."
Right.
And when I end up getting my house raided, obviously they they try to knock on the door, serve the search warrant. I'm in my basement sleeping, And obviously my parents are not hearing that. So I don't know if they even knocked or if they just assumed that no one was going to open the door. The parents are deaf. You kind of have to open it. No one's going to hear you knocking or ringing the doorbell. So I I hear them break in my front door. It's like 4 in the morning. They go through the first level. Obviously, they wake up my parents with, guns in their faces. My parents are, you know, it was only my mom. My mom was the only one there. My dad was at work at this time, but he had rushed home as soon as my mom texted him about it. Now, I had heard them break in, but I sleep with the TV on. So I thought it was my TV playing a police show. And I had time to get rid of stuff, but I didn't realize it until they opened my basement door and told me to come up there, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I have nowhere to put all this stuff." So, I go up there, and I get everything. My house is completely torn to shreds. It's it's over with, like, everything's torn to shreds. They rip the couches off, like, they literally do everything. They find I never really hid anything. It was literally in a closet, but they tore apart the whole house. So I end up getting arrested and they take me in and they book me. And that's like the start of my adult charges. And I'm still fighting the juvenile charges. And that's how it like all came up so many it came up like this. So these are some of the pictures, and I don't know how they got this angle of literally being, like, right next to me,
Right.
stuff like that, but they I don't know, it's technology is so crazy, whatever. When they ended up arresting me, they told me, "For all you know, we coulda had drones, we're not telling you how we did it." But
So
I am
you
Go
were
ahead.
so what happened? You got brought downtown, fingerprinted,
Yeah,
processed, the whole thing. Got your picture taken.
I got yeah, got it all, and I obviously get sat down by some detectives. No, they're I get charged first off, I get charged with manufacturing THC. I get charged with possession with intent to deliver LSD, and I get charged with possession of maintaining a drug home, or I mean, maintaining a drug trafficking place, maintaining a drug vehicle, um, I caught a couple bail jumpings because my juvenile cases were still going on, but I wasn't really out on bond for those. But there was nothing. Now that I'm 18, I can actually get bond, and I wasn't on my Chapter 51, and I wasn't on probation anymore. So there was nothing that was saying I couldn't get bond. But I get charged with possession of narcotics as well, and possession of crack cocaine, and I get all these charges, and and they sit me down. They weren't all that. They were more very interested in the the tabs, the LSD tabs. That was their main focus because I don't know if it is a unique thing, but they had um uh, they had a federal guy in there with them because he had questions about that because it's not something that is normally around like that, I guess.
Okay.
He wanted to know about it, and I wasn't really willing to tell them anything. I already at this point, I already know I'm booked, I'm done. It is what it is. I'm booked, I'm smoked. And I
Right.
see all the pictures they show me, they literally had like a couple sheets of paper of all my clientele with all their picture. It was insane. It was like a yearbook with a couple of like small little pictures of all of them. And it was like so weird. It was like I know they didn't all look like mugshots. I was like, how do you have all these pictures? Did you get them from a yearbook or something?
Right.
It's very weird. It's very weird. And so they wanted to know about it. And I was like, as at first I tried the fake information. I
Right.
tried
I don't know the guy's
tried it.
name.
No, I gave him a name, but that's not a real name.
Right.
I give them fake information, enough for them to be content, and in their minds put a couple ends together, I guess, but it's not really the truth at that time. It wasn't the truth. It was fabricated, these names. And so when I go to my bond hearing, they bring up that I was willing to cooperate. And so that made, with all those charges, they were willing to give me a signature bond to get me out. But I told them they weren't interested in the marijuana that much. They wanted other stuff. And oh yeah, I get you that. I know a couple names. Give fake names or whatever. It's like, you guys have my phone. I'm not really gonna. You guys seize my phone. I don't know the phone numbers offhand. All this stuff, but enough for them to play ball with me.
Right.
Enough for them. So they let me out on a signature bond. It was like a $500 signature bond, like literally the lowest bail for all those charges. That's insane. Like my bail should have been through the roof. Another thing I should mention, in Wisconsin, you will always get bail. There is no, unless you have a federal case, they can hold you without bail. But in the state of Wisconsin, if you have a PO hold, you'll still get a bail, but you can't go anywhere. But even if you have 20 counts of murder, they will give you a bail. It might
Right.
be 10, 20 million, but they will always give you a bail. There is no bail. There's always a bail.
Well,
So
that's definitely not the way it is in every state.
yeah, I know. It's really weird. It's really weird. They will always give you a bail no matter what. But I mean, it's to an extent eventually, like this this guy who, did you ever I don't know if you heard about it. It was a big news thing, the Waukesha parade attack.
The what?
Daryl Brooks. He drove through a parade and killed a bunch of people. It was on
Oh,
the news.
yeah.
Daryl Brooks, yeah, Daryl Brooks. So, he had a bond in Wisconsin, $5 million. They're going to give him a bond, but it's something obviously no one's going to pay.
Right.
But you will always get a bond. So, but they're just going to make it so substantially absurd that no one's going to pay it.
Right.
So I get out, and I'm having meetings with. I have a public defender at this time.
Right.
I eventually do get a paid attorney, but at this time I have a public defender, and I'm not too concerned about all this stuff. I'm not too concerned about all of it. It is what it is. I'm still young. I'm like, it is what it is. I'm meeting with the detectives, kind of misleading them, and for a little bit, trying to stall them off as long as I could until I had to actually give real information. Having these meetings with them through text, stalling appointments with them. Like, I'll do it next weekend. The appointment. I'm like, so what do you guys want? Just really making the process long, as long as I could. And this was a bad idea, because and another big thing that helped was COVID had hit at this time.
So they don't want people in jail. They're
they don't
yeah.
they don't want people in jail, and it's like they don't really. It's almost like for a while they stopped contacting me because they didn't. like, they weren't even working through COVID kind of almost. It was like they were, but I wasn't their main concern, and I was, like, willing at that time. I'm sure they had other things to take care of,
Right.
you know? So COVID had hit, so it just gave me time out of nowhere, and it gave me time, and so COVID had hit, I'm out on pre-trial release, and I have to go in I have to call every single day, see if I have to do a drug test. It's random. I call every single day, and it'll tell me if I have to come in or not.
Right.
So, I'm doing straight for a little bit, but COVID hit while I was trying to stall off the detectives, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, and so COVID had hit, and they shut down the place for, like they shut down the pretrial place for a little bit, but they lied to people. I would call and ask people, "Are you guys still open?" And somebody did answer the phone, and they would say, "Yeah, we're still open." But I whenever I had called, it was called the drug testing hotline. I had never gone more than, I would say the farthest would be a week without a drug test. At this point, it had been a month. So I knew that they were shut down. There's no way. It's been a month since I've had to come in for a drug test, and I'm calling every day.
Okay. But it's also COVID.
Right. It's COVID. So I'm thinking maybe they're only drug testing 2 people a day, 1 person per hour. They're going through their list randomly. I don't know what their procedure was, but it gets shut down for a little bit, not that long. But it gets shut down for a little bit, and I think, oh, this is perfect. They're shut down. I could start using again, and I don't even have to report and get away with it. So I start using again for a little bit, and before you know it, they're back open. But it's still the middle of COVID. My cases are, their status hearings 6 months apart. Like, they're so far apart. COVID made my case like 4 years long. I didn't get sentenced. Like, it was like 3 4 years I was fighting my case. COVID made my case so long.
Right.
So, um, the drug testing place had opened. Now I knew that I was going to fail this drug test,
Right.
so I go in there, and I figure it's better to fail it and show up than to not show up at all. At
Right.
first, this is what I thought, which is true, very, very true. And I fail it, and they send a letter to the judge about it, and it gets brought up at my next hearing. So
Right.
since I did that, I am violating the conditions of my bond because I am not staying sober.
Yeah.
And though I don't know how they broken up my charges, so weird. I'm I don't they put, charges. They opened up so many cases on me. It was so weird. Like, when my house got raided, I probably got 3 different cases for possession of crack cocaine, even though it all happened at once. But they got, like, they didn't do, like, duplicate charges on the same case. It was really weird how they did these charges. They kept opening up new cases. It was really weird. And before you know it, I have 10 cases. I bail jump 1 time. I bail jump 10 times because I'm out on bond on all these cases.
Right.
So I break the bond for all of them. So now I get 10 bail jumpings instead. They rack them up like that. You get
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they do that, and now, my bond is not that high. It's $2,500 because of, and it's all because of COVID and because I was willing to cooperate. So, they gave me a $2,500 bond. I pay it, I get out. Now, I do this one more time where I don't drop dirty. I just go on the go on the run. And I didn't really go on the run. I just didn't go to court. I just didn't go anywhere. And I
Right.
wasn't actively. I just didn't want to be sick in jail. But I just don't go. I don't go to court. Boom! They hit me with another. Now it's now it's 21 because I caught another case for the bail jumping. So I have another open case. So they're racking up these bail jumpings on me so quickly, and I'm just looking at them, and they can give you 3 years apiece for these, and I'm like, I can get like 160 out bail jumpings alone. I'm like, this is insane. There's
Right.
no way. But I know they're not gonna do that to me. I know they're not gonna do it to me, but I'm like, that's insane that they could just because of the way they stack these charges. But now I'm finding ways to cheat the system every time I have court. I'll check into a rehab. No, I have a viable reason to miss court. I'm missing drug tests because I'm in rehab, though. I'm in treatment. It's okay. You know where I am at this moment. It
Right.
is okay. But I'm checking out the next day, and you don't know that.
Right.
'Cause I don't sign. I sign an agreement. I have my lawyer tell them that I'm there, but I don't even tell my own public defender that I'm leaving, and they don't tell her either. So that they really think I'm in treatment during this time. I'm kind of screwing with them, kind of cheating. I'm cheating the system. I'm trying to find all the loopholes I can to have freedom and not do treatment and not go to jail. So they're not giving me bail jumpings for those, but they're they're not finding out what I'm doing. But I would still get caught a month later, and they would just bring me in on arrest warrants, and then they just keep raising my bail 5,000, and then I have another court date 10,000. I'd skip, or I'd have another court hearing, I'd skip it, get caught later, they raise it 10,000, 20,000, 25,000. And Wisconsin, we don't. There isn't a 25 or there's no 10% rule. There's no bail bondsmen are illegal here. You pay 100% of your bail, or you're not going anywhere.
Oh
Like
wow, I didn't know that. That's
if
nuts.
your bond is 10,000, they want 10,000. There's no 1,000 here. They want 10,000. The bail bondsmen are illegal here. It's very weird, but I guess they try to factor that in that you're not going through a bail bondsman, so they make your bail more reasonable, I guess, since there is no bail bondsman. I don't know. It's weird how it worked. But if they would have gave me eventually my bail got up to 25,000, and I bailed out all these multiple times, going in and out of county sitting for a month and letting my going in and out and having my parents help bond me out. My parents towards the end they were putting up their house, taking like they were taking loans out to get me out. Like they were really trying to help me. And towards the end, now COVID's kind of over, and now I give I give them the information that they need. I cooperate. I give them the information they need. So I got them off my back. I give them the information. It's not that interesting. I do a couple of deals. The technology is so insane. I mean, they had a Starbucks cup with a camera on it.
Right.
It was insane. Some of the stuff they were giving me. There is no wire anymore. They give me another cell phone that's record Bluetooth. That's all crazy stuff. So I do end up cooperating. I give them what they need, and so now the judge is giving me some sort of leniency in if he had given me a $25,000 bail at one point in time, I would have never been able to pay it. But since he gradually raised my bail, I was able to, put 5,000 here, 2,000 there, 5,000, 3,000 here, another 10,000 there. I was able to spin it, and I'm doing these like months, like a month at a time. Every time I don't go to court, and I haven't my court since COVID is over. I'm missing court once a month. I'm literally getting out and jump and trying to not go to court, and I have court in 2 weeks, and I'm getting arrested in 3 weeks. Like I'm getting in and out of jail every 2 weeks, and I'm just finding out I'm sitting there for a month as I'm really doing stupid stuff, and surprisingly, the judge did tell me, he said, "If this was your money, I would take it, but since it's your parents' money, I'm not gonna take the bond money." But there were many times where he wanted to take the bond money.
Right.
'Cause I wasn't listening. I was doing whatever I wanted. I kinda had this cocky arrogance, "Oh, I'll bail out. That I'll be fine. Eventually, I will come up with the money. Eventually, I will bail out. They can't hold me, they can't eventually, somebody will bond me out." I always knew that. I didn't kill anyone. My bail's never gonna be $1,000,000, but even if so, at this point in time, and this is still kinda true, my parents probably would've sold their house for, like, and done everything, took out loans as much as they could to try to post it even, like, up in the numbers. They
Do
were
you
really supporting me.
do your parents understand the concept of tough love?
Now they do.
Okay,
At this time,
because
no.
they weren't helping you.
They were not, no,
Right. You should
they
have
weren't
sat in
helping.
jail, right, you would
I
have
I
gotten
sh
clean, then you might have started saying, "Hey, this is serious."
Yeah, yeah, but they didn't understand that I always had money on my books. They always came and visited me, 2, 3 times a week. Their tough love was, sitting in jail a week. That's tough love. Or I mean a
Mm,
month, and then
mm.
they'll post my bail. It's not a big deal. "Oh, we'll wait a little bit, make sure you're good, and get me out." And I kind of feel like because they're deaf, they don't really need me, but I do bring it because I'm always their interpreter. I bring kind of value to them
Right.
almost. So I feel like that's a big thing that played a part in them getting me out. And what's really crazy is one time during this visit, since my parents are deaf, I don't. It's the monitor phone. It's not a glass screen. It's a monitor. I don't even pick up the phone because they're not talking. We're just gonna sign on the screen. I'm gonna see them like this, how we
Right.
are, and they come and scoop me up in jail and throw me in the hole for throwing up gang signs on a visit. And I'm like, "This is absurd." I'm like,
That's
"How?"
insane.
It's they take my visits. I can't call home, like, this is insane. If I wanted to call home, I would have to, like, call someone else, and then they would have to call an interpreter, and then the interpreter would call my mom, and it'd be like a five-way call, and
Yeah, I was gonna say,
eventually.
and then you could get in trouble for having a two-way call or a
Oh,
three-way
yeah.
call. You can't
Yeah.
do
Oh, yeah.
either.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not supposed to, but
Right.
it happens. So sentencing is coming up, right? I've given them what they wanted. Sentencing is coming up, and my judge used to be the district attorney. He's also been the attorney general. He I didn't think he was gonna be, because he was a DA for a long time, and he was a very, very tough DA. He would smoke your boots,
Right.
and I thought as a judge he would. So towards the end, when I'm coming to sentencing, I hire a paid lawyer. I hire a paid lawyer because I felt like my public defender wasn't. It was I feel like it was too much for her. She wasn't. I feel like she didn't have enough time. She didn't really care about my case. I was kind of a lost cause at this point. So I hire an attorney, and sentencing is starting to come around, and I have all these open cases, and obviously I'm taking what's called a global plea, right? You know what that is?
No.
So I've heard of global pleas been described different in other places, but a global plea is we're going to wrap all 10 of your cases
Together. Right.
together, and we're gonna drop a bunch of stuff, but you gotta plead guilty you have to plead guilty, and we'll sentence you all at once. We'll get it. You don't have to go fight all these different cases.
Right.
It gets it all done at once. And they drop obviously a lot of the bail jumpings, but they do that to play because they really use the bail jumpings as a bargaining token. We'll drop the bail jumpings if you plead out to your original charges.
Right.
And it's like, I guess that's fair. But I mean, like I said, I cooperated and stuff, and I helped them out, and I think that played a huge part. Although I'm going in and out of county. I had done I don't know, maybe a year, not a year, maybe like 6 months in and out, just drug tests, checking in and out of rehab, and going in and out of jail, and just doing months here, getting out for a week, doing another month here, just really stupid stuff. And so now it's time for sentencing, and I take a global plea. So this plea is just most insane deal you'll probably ever heard for everything. He gave me a um um what was it? It was like a month and a half in work release. And then I had 2 years paper with a withheld sentence. And a withheld sentence is if I mess up on probation, I have to go in front of a judge and he will resentence me to what, he probably should have in the first place.
Right.
It's a withheld sentence. If I mess up and I get revoked, I don't go do revocation time. I go see the judge and he resentences me. And so I take that deal. And so I do the little time I had, which was like a month and a half. I do it. I get out. A month and a half later, I've only been in there for a month and a half at work release. I had stacked up a little bit of money because it wasn't in Wisconsin it's called Huber, but it's like actual. I am allowed to leave the jail, use my own vehicle, and go to work at Denny's, go work at wherever. If I am employed anywhere, I can leave for up to 12 hours a day.
Okay. So it's kind of like
And
work release.
right, but I can work anywhere.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be affiliated with the jail. Like I can work as long as I'm employed. I can leave, and they charge me. I think it's $24 a day or 26. I forget. But I did that for a month and a half, and even I had got a decent job right off the bat because there's always people and there's jobs that are close, and they work with a lot of Huber people. They're used to it since they're close to the facility. So I got a job and saved up a little bit of money. So I got out, and I stopped for a little bit, and then I stopped for a month and a month. Maybe I think it was 2 months. I had stopped I'd been out for 2 months, and I had went to go use again. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. So this is the craziest thing. I go to use. I go meet my guy. I get my stuff. I'm on the way home. My phone is at 6%. Now I'm high. I want to listen to music, so I gotta stop at the mall to charge my phone so I can have music on the rest of my ride home because it's at 5%. I didn't have a car charger at the time. So I knew that malls have like little charging stands. I don't have to pay anything. They have little charging stands there. So I go there, and the last thing I remember is getting out of my car. But what supposedly happened, and I'll tell this really quick before I was hungry, but I didn't eat because I was like, I'm going to get high. I don't need to eat. It'll be fine. But I wasn't like starving or anything. I could have got food, but I was so rushed on getting high that I was like, I'll eat later. But as soon as I get out the car, I don't remember anything. But supposedly, I walk in the mall, go to the food court, do not charge my phone, jump over their counters, and try to steal their food and their money. And then I proceed to go in other stores and just rip off tags of stuff, not even trying to steal it, not putting it on, just ripping off tags.
What were you on?
Am I allowed to say that?
I mean, I mean,
I
is
was
it?
on. I was. No, I
Yeah, go
was.
ahead.
I
What?
was on a mixture of Xanax and fentanyl.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that is what I was. Yeah, it was. So I didn't remember. I don't. And
Had you ever done that before and had that problem?
I had never had that problem. I wasn't doing Zans. I think the Zans. I found out later when I dropped 30 that they were mixed in there. I didn't know
Okay.
that at first. I had never had this problem before. I had never thought about jumping over counters, robbing places. I never thought about that. I never I never thought about that, any of that stupid stuff, but I did it, and now I'm close to getting revoked because I don't get charged with robbery. I get charged
How are
with
you
the drugs
close to
that
being how are you close to being I mean, that to me, that would be a clear violation.
it's a violation, but I'm close to being revoked. It's a violation, but
Right.
since I didn't get charged with like a robbery because I didn't leave, I got arrested by mall security and the police come and get me. Now in Wisconsin, only in Milwaukee, when you are on probation or parole and you get arrested,
Okay.
usually they send you straight to prison. They have a prison in Milwaukee. You don't go to county jail no more. If you are on probation or we don't have parole anymore, it's called extended supervision. So you do 100% of your time here. So
Okay.
um I'm on probation, so I get sent to the and since I live in Milwaukee, I I get sent to this Milwaukee prison for for a while. My PO comes and sees me, and she's like, "What the hell are you thinking?" I never even met this lady yet. I never even
Right.
seen her in the 60 days. Because I at first they gave me a PO in a different county, seen them, and then I switched POs back to Milwaukee, and I had never seen this PO yet, and her first time meeting me is obviously in the prison. She comes and sees me. It's called Milwaukee Secure Detention Facility. It's classified as a medium, but you're in your cell like 22 hours a day. You get like an hour out in the morning and an hour out at night. That's it. It's really stupid.
All right.
So
Sucks. Yeah.
it's terrible. And they because COVID was going around, so I'm doing a quarantine at this point. I'm quarantined, so I have to sit 10 days not coming out of my room.
Right.
So I do the quarantine, and they don't revoke me. They give me a halfway house. They give me a halfway house, and they send me all the way out to Stevens Point, which is just like by Winnebago. It's 3 hours from my home. I'm like, why you send me so far? We have a decent amount of halfway houses in Milwaukee. But she sent me there. And most people who were in there that were in there for, drugs and going to halfway houses were going to the close halfway houses. I was the only one who was getting shipped so far. And I was like, Why? I don't understand. Why is it?
Well, maybe they're thinking the area has there's a problem. There's too many people there that that are willing to contribute to your issues,
And that is what they end up telling me.
right?
That is why that happens.
Which is
That's exactly.
probably pretty accurate. So go ahead.
So they ship me to this. Now, I don't I'm now this halfway house is, in the end, it was really nice because this was the most relaxed halfway house you could imagine. The halfway houses in Milwaukee, they were doing quarantines, but since it's COVID, you're not leaving to go to work. You're staying in the house. You're not leaving. You might walk to this gas station uh with a staff member and get cigarettes maybe once in a while. But the halfway house in Stevens Point, they let you have your car up there. You can leave for hours at a time. They don't track you. You just tell them when you're leaving, tell them, when you'll be back. Like, it's so relaxed. You can have your phone, like, you can have everything. You have TV, you bring your own flat screen TV in your room. Like, it's the most relaxed halfway house you could possibly have.
Okay.
So I'm in this halfway house and I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know anybody, and I already know that I was so close to our vacation that I I wasn't trying to mess it up. So I'm not trying to mess it up. But and I don't know anybody out there, so I really can't mess it up. Like, I don't have any contacts out there. But, like, it was so relaxed, and since most people lived maybe 30 minutes to an hour away,
Right.
when you have, like, visits, you can leave with your parents and stuff. They usually just drop you after you get back, but since my parents live 3 hours away, they would let me leave I leave at 6 in the morning, drive back, and I come back at midnight because I have to drive all the way to Milwaukee and come back.
Right.
And I always thought about, oh, I could go down there and get stuff and then just not use it till after they drug test me. And I never ended up doing that though. But I always thought about it. But I'm at this halfway house. I'm supposed to be here for um uh, 3 months. I'm supposed to be here for 3 4 months. 3 4 months. I'm supposed to be here. I've been here a month and a half, and this new guy comes in who I get along with really well. Turns out he's alcoholic, and since you can walk to the gas station, you don't really have supervision on you. They breathalyze you randomly and they drug test you randomly, but he they didn't test for alcohol in your urine. They did breathalyzers. So what he always did was wait till like bedtime because they're typically, from what I've even seen, until I heard about what happened after the situation, they're not the third shift person is not going to wake you up to drug test you or to breathalyze you unless you're coming back from, like, sometimes maybe work and they're told to do it by the first second shift staff. So he would always wait till that time. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, even they don't really, and as long as, like, I don't leave, even they don't really breathalyze too often, and as long as I don't leave, I don't really give them a reason to breathalyze me. If you're not leaving, they really don't drop you as much or breathalyze you. So if I'm doing something stupid, I just don't leave for a couple of days, so I know I'm good. But I ended up drinking with this guy one night, and he gets out of control. He gets out of control drinking, and he almost starts a fight with another roommate. So what happens? Earlier, we had already got our round of breathalyzers. So we know we already got a breathalyzer. We're good. So we started drinking earlier in the day. We already got a breathalyzer. You don't get breathalyzed twice in a day. It's very rare they even breathalyze you. He ended up making a scene, getting in a fight with one of his friends, and she decides to breathalyze everyone again. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's over with." So I hide in the bathroom for, like, 30 minutes. She's waiting outside the door. Eventually, she leaves. I pretend I'm sleeping, and, I go to my bed. I pretend I'm sleeping. She eventually pulls me and makes me, blow into the breathalyzer. I blow into it, and she was like, "What well, why does it say this?" And I was like, "Oh, I just, you see, I went to bed. I used my mouthwash." And she wasn't buying the story, but she had to write the statement down. She was like, "Why are you lying to me?" And I'm like, "That's my statement. That is what happened. It is mouthwash. I might have drank it, but it was mouthwash."
Right.
So I get me and him both get kicked out the halfway house. Now, since this happened, the whole place gets searched. And unbeknownst to me, they find so much. They don't find so much stuff, but the one thing that I got blamed for that wasn't mine, they found. You know what a Wizinator is?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they found.
It's a fake male organ that allows you to pass a urine test.
Yes, and they had found one of these, and since it wasn't even in my room, it had nothing to do with me, but they had thought that it I ended up getting blamed for it. I had got blamed for it. I don't know if from what I heard, different parts of stories from everybody. I called everybody. I people, everyone said it was mine, even though it wasn't. Whatever. I'm not coming back anyway. So I've been in jail. I'm sitting in their jail now. The halfway house is right here. The jail's literally across the street. So when the cops come, they literally arrest you and just walk you across the street. But it is I'm sitting in there waiting for to see what my PO does, and it's been like a week, and they let him back into the halfway house, but they don't let me back in the halfway house. And I I it was because they had felt that I wasn't, even though I had stayed sober till that point, I was always making jokes, and the way I carried myself, very arrogant, didn't really care. I didn't participate that much. I really didn't. I wasn't even trying to go through the motions with them. I'm like, I'm here. I'm sober. You after 90 days, I am gone. I'm not going through the motions. So they didn't feel like a second chance was earned for me. I guess I didn't deserve it, but they let him go back. So I have to get sent back to uh, uh, I have to get sent back to the Milwaukee prison now. So because now I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm getting revoked or if I don't know what's happening. All I know is I'm not going back to that halfway house, and I'm going back to this prison in Milwaukee. So they were telling me you might be here a month before Milwaukee comes and gets you. They take forever, and I'm like, oh my god! Thank God they didn't take that long because these cell blocks are there's 6 cells to a cell block, and maybe 3 of them are being used. And there's literally a small TV, so small, and it's old. It's bar style. There's one table. The visits are terrible. It was just so bad. It was so bad. I don't, and it was so weird. They had because I got sent to the maximum security side. I don't know why, but they had a work release side, but it wasn't. They would let anybody stay over there. They just wouldn't let them leave for work. Even like there was a guy who had got caught for a murder. They sent him to the Huber facility, and I'm sitting over here in Max, but they didn't let him leave the Huber facility. They just let him stay in a minimum part of the jail where I had to stay in the Max. I think it's because I'm from a different county, all this, whatever. So they end up coming and picking me up a week after that week. So I've been there for 2 weeks. They come pick me up. So they come pick me up, take me back to Milwaukee. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going through the process, and I get called out, and a I think they call them liaisons, came and saw me. A
Right.
liaison came and saw me and said, "We're going to give you a 90-day sanction, and we want you to take this anger management program and try to spin it for yourself for drugs. Try to use the information they are teaching you for drugs, and we'll knock 15 days off your sentence. So you'll do 75 days on this sanction." And I'm like, all right. Now, I mean, I had done a month before I went to the halfway house. I did 2 months in the halfway house, which was really freedom, just not at home. And now I had done the 2 weeks in this county jail, but they didn't count those 2 weeks, which is fine, whatever. They didn't count those 2 weeks, but if they would have, I would have got out for my 21st birthday, but they didn't. So now they sent me to this anger management program, and I'm in the prison. I'm doing the anger management program, and it's not. I am telling there is no getting any more time off your sentence. You can make it worse by getting kicked out of the program, but there's also like if I were to get into a fight and get charged with a battery, that might not only get me kicked out of the program, I might now actually get revoked because I'm
Right.
not in there on revocation yet. So it's a really weird thing. So I do the program, and I tell the instructor just how it is. I'm like, "I wanna use, I don't care, like, that is what I wanna do." And she was like, I appreciate you being so hon," and everyone's telling me to shut up, even though they're not even in there for drugs. They're like, "Be quiet, you can't tell her that stuff, like, you're gonna get held in here forever, man." She's like, "They're gonna tell your PO," and I was like, I'm like, "Yeah, I don't even give a fuck. 75 days after that, I'm gone. It is what it is." So I have this attitude every day. I am doing my 75 days, and I finally get released. And from that point, I get released October 28th of 2022. And my birthday is October 18th, so I was mad. If they would have counted at 2 weeks in the last county jail, it would have been off for my
You got
birthday.
nothing coming, bro.
I,
I mean, you can't expect one bit of leniency for anything.
I agree. I didn't have anything coming my way, and I knew that I had already the whole time I had already skated my way through everything. I
Right.
got no punishment, but I had understood, and this came with just being in and out of the jail for that like year period, and just being mature and being like older now, even though I'm not old. It had just like a switch had clicked in my head, like this is clearly not working. And I think having all those open cases more so pressured me to try to get in as much as I could before I was going to get sent away because I thought I was going to go to prison. So I felt like it tried to pressure me. And now after I got out, I'm still on papers and stuff. I've been doing good. I have like a year left on papers. I've been out for a little over a year, about a year and a half, and now I'm doing good. I'm working construction, and that's pretty much
That's
where
where we're
I'm
at.
at. That's where we're at right now. That is where we're at.
I mean, where are you staying now? Your parents?
Yeah, I stay with my parents because I have this plan that instead of taking out a mortgage, when my parents die, I have a brother and a sister. The house is going to get split into between the three of us. I know my brother and sister are going to try to sell it and get money, so I'm trying to gi- s- I'm giving my mom money to hold on to. So once that moment, God forbid, does come, there will be money and the council, I can give it to my brother and says, "This is what the house is worth. This is what the house is worth. Take Here's your portion of it, and I'm going to stay here and live here. Now I don't have to take a mortgage. I don't have to have debt. I don't have to do that." And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But yes, I am staying. I'm staying with my parents. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm working a lot of hours, and I mean, I talked to my PO the other day, and she was like, "Man, I don't know how you did it. You were helpless." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I just got old. I got older, and I mean, I'm still such a kid. I just got more mature. I don't. I just knew that it wasn't. This isn't gonna ever work. There is no way to spin this. And once you're on papers, like I know if I do get like when I did get arrested just for that possession of narcotics when I was jumping over the counter at the mall, like I couldn't bond out because I had a PO hold. So I started realizing the severity of stuff and how quick because I had always been arrogant. Oh, I can always bond out and all this. I start to realize the severity of what they really can do what they want.
Yeah.
You really don't have a say in it. You have
No, and
zero say in it.
honestly, how much can you put your parents through? How much more can you put your parents through?
Right. And my parents have been there the whole way. I put them through so much and they don't really know. I try to explain to some, they don't really know they know a story, but they don't know the full depth of how bad my addiction was. But they know about, oh, I was selling drugs for a little bit. They don't really, not that they don't care, but in their mind, he's in jail. Like as long as it doesn't say like murder, like I'm sure they still haven't even figured out that like I was charged with acid, but it like they just know that I'm in jail and I'm not doing the right thing, which is all that they need to know. They were going to the hearings and stuff. They were showing up. It's not that they didn't care, but it wasn't. I don't think they don't under. My parents have never been in trouble. They've never done a drug in their life, so they don't fully understand it. They don't
Right.
understand the legal system. They don't understand how drugs work. They don't really understand it like that. So I was always able to swindle, as I call it, spin a story so it makes sense to my mom is why I did what I did, or it was a friend stuff, or I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm still a kid, and she would always come to my rescue
Right.
until eventually at the halfway house, that was like the breaking point for her. She was like, after I got kicked out of the halfway house, she said, "Whatever happens after this, when you get released, whether you get revoked or not, when you get released from this point on, I am not getting you out. I am not putting money on your books. I am not going to do all that." So she had always said that before, but I could tell like the sincerity of this time, like she really actually meant it. She had always telling me, "You go back. I'm not bailing you out," and she always did eventually. So that's kind of the whole story.
All right. And now you're working construction. When you say construction, you're doing snowplow. Is that
Well,
construction?
I'm doing plowing right now because it's the winter, but mainly it's not. I guess it's hardscaping and landscaping. Like I build patios, retaining walls, stuff like that. Um, Walkways, the concrete, stuff like that. It's like a hardscaper, I would call it. But and then during the winter, like I plow the medical college down here. I plow the top of the parking garage so it doesn't collapse. But since the machine broke, there's a lot up there right now, and it might not. And I have nowhere to put it. So yeah, they haven't called me in yet, so I don't know what it's supposed to be reinforced. But I mean, you've seen on the news that parking structures do collapse.
Right.
And there was nowhere left for us to put the snow. There's like a burner we dump it into to melt it. We don't dump it off the side because it's so they're on the other parking structures but they can only dump from like 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning. But we have a melter that we use a plow and just plow it in there. But we plow it first. We don't put it straight in the melter. We put it to the sides, and then we start taking it to the melter all at once everything's been plowed. So, but the melter didn't turn on yesterday, so it's I don't know what's gonna happen, but I guess we'll see what happens when they call me. But it's pretty bad up there. Like I'm talking, I think like the whole outside, like there's a 4 foot, like it's like a 4 foot width, 4 foot tall, like and like all the way lined up around the whole parking garage at every like on the outside and the inside of it at every little edge. Like there is, and it's heavy snow. It's bad, but it's supposed to be reinforced for it. So I guess we'll see what happens. But well, and in the winter I plow, but in the summer and then fall and even in the winter when it's not snowing, I'll do patios and stuff and
Right.
walls, concrete, whatever I can.
Listen, bro, I'm glad you're doing better now. You seem like you're in a better, headspace, right? Better frame of mind.
Yeah, I understand that you can't just skate through everything. Like you eventually I have a saying, eventually you will fuck around and find out. They
Right.
will. They will. They can and they will.
Right.
They will show you.
All right. Well, hold on one second. I appreciate you coming on and telling me the story because you're anyway. I'll hold on a second. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor when you if you like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, check the description box. And all of my books are listed. I wrote a bunch of books, true crime books. If you like true crime.